The ocean, a biome as dangerous as it is valuable, because whilst there are terrifying creatures waiting to eat your face off, you can also find wholly unique treasure. And no, I don't just mean the underwater artifacts. What if I told you that there's a creature in the ocean that, when tamed, improves your loot quality? A creature so elusive that if you don't tread carefully, will vanish in front of your very eyes. Because, my friends, it is real. But in order to get our hands on that creature, we are going to have to start our journey in the redwoods. Yeah, that place again. Apparently, we needed honey in order to tame the loot-enhancing Liopleurodon, and I'm gonna be real, I was getting tired of coming back here every time we needed honey. So our goal was to tame a queen bee to have it on demand. And since we are going to the redwoods anyway, we might as well get some cementing paste. Oh yeah, we gotta bring the toad.
You can Pokeball him.
Oh yeah, you're right! We do have that technology now. Second boss is that and all the rest of it. Yeah, I almost forgot that we defeated the Megapithecus on the last episode, which means 76 days into our challenge, we finally got to play the game without restrictions. But time was of the essence, so Echo and I put on our ghillie, hopped onto our PTs and made way towards the redwoods. Mama Bear was still hanging out, which was great for us because it meant we didn't have to tame a new one, which doesn't mean that we didn't run into other bears. While searching for beehives, we kept getting attacked by everything around us, and since we didn't bring a decent level combat tame with us, all we could do was run away. That was until I remembered that I did bring a combat tame. What? No nearby cryo fridge ready! This was incredibly obnoxious. As part of the move from Survival Evolved to Survival Ascended, Wildcard decided to put some restrictions on how and when we can use cryopods. Which, honestly, I can see why they would do that for PvP balance sake, but like, we're playing on our own server. The only PvP we have to worry about is Echo stabbing us with a pike. Point being, this is a stupid setting and we're definitely gonna turn it off. But because that would require us to restart the server, we decided to ask for some divine intervention to bridge the gap. There you are, God. Please bestow upon us thy gracious cryo fridge. Thank you.
So what happened exactly?
The stupid setting is still on, that we need a cryo fridge to use the cryopods.
Finally seeing what your character looks like is kind of funny.
Don't tell Brendan about this.
He needs not know. Yeah, that's not what we expected God to look like. Either way, having the cryo fridge now meant that we didn't have to restart the server, which also comes with a certain amount of rollback. I don't want to bore you with the details, but we lose like 10 to 20 minutes on our timer every time we do it. And, it's day 76. Anyway, now that we could use cryopods, it was time to get back to the task at hand. Echo fortnighted his way up to a beehive in order to destroy it and set the queen bee free. Geared up with a full set of ghillie plus bug repellent, it was now my job to creep up and passive tame it, which didn't go according to plan. But hey, many more beehives in the forest, am I right? Since Echo as well as I were convinced that I must have done something wrong, he decided to give it a shot to about the same level of success. We even tried shooting it, thinking that maybe it was changed to a knockout tame in ASA. We were having so much trouble with this that we decided to look up some videos on how to tame queen bees, in which every single person was just nonchalantly walking up to the damn thing and tamed it with one feed.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't taking the exceptional kibble.
What does it say on the wiki?
Regular kibble or a rare flower.
Rare flower!
Simple kibble or a rare flower.
Well, if it takes simple kibble, it will take exceptional kibble. That's how the game works.
Yeah, it just wasn't though. I think it was just angry at us.
Rare flower usually makes things angry, so I'm really surprised that it wants to eat that. Something just wasn't right. No matter how fast or slowly we approached the queen bee, we never got the prompt to be able to feed it. And that across multiple bees. But because this mission was made even more difficult at night, the two of us decided to kill some time in the swamp cave to get Buford to farm some extra cementing paste for us. And honestly, that went surprisingly well. We even got far enough to collect one of the loot drops. But at this stage, we were ready to call it quits. The bees were not cooperating, our gear was broken, we still had to restart the server to turn off the stupid cryo setting, and we didn't even have any rare flowers on us. Rare flowers.
It's like gambling. Do you want to stay?
I mean, now that we have rare flowers, you know?
I mean, okay, wait, let me go pick up the generator.
There's a beehive right next to us as well. Fate had different plans, so whilst Echo scouted the redwoods for more beehives in case of more failure, I went back to the base to repair our ghillie. And guess what? Even with the rare flowers, it did not work. But we were not out of ideas just yet. One of the problems we had was having to track down the bees once the hive was broken, and it getting stuck in places we had trouble reaching. So what if we built a cage around the beehive before breaking it? Yeah, no, that still did not fix the issue. At that point, we were certain that something was fishy. A little Google search revealed that apparently taming queen bees has just been inconsistently broken since the release of ASA, and we just so happened to be unlucky enough to experience that bug on half a dozen queen bees in a row. After spending 2 whole days on this and only failing because the game was broken, we figured it was time to get God involved again.
It doesn't even spawn.
What?
He doesn't spawn?
Let me try again.
Even God himself could not summon a queen bee, so he did the only thing he could do and destroy the beehive to force tame a new bee for us. And I gotta say, there's something about seeing God with a shotgun. For which we had to pay, of course, because the worker bees arbitrarily decided to attack us instead of God, which led to me aggroing a pissed off Megatherium. I died, my PT died, Echo had to carry me back to the base on Argentavis, during which I had a random DC and died again. But at last we had honey, meaning we could now go out in search of the Liopleurodon. 60 Alpha Megalodon.
Light work, no reaction. Where are you, actually? Are you, like, ahead of me or like, deep?
I think I'm a little ahead of you, but I'm like deep in the ocean.
Well, I would watch out being that deep, by the way. That's where the Alpha 2 cell killed me.
I'm fine, I wasn't gonna kill me.
That's not actually me.
Oh my god!
Get him out!
I can't, it's already stunned me, Wait, it's stunned me,
I'm coming.
Oh my god. Holy crap, what the hell?
It's gonna be a while before I get down there.
Is it over? Is it Jover? It's off. Alpha. I can't kill this.
Are you on your tame at least?
Yeah, I'm on my tame right now.
How much HP do you have?
6,000.
I'm coming down.
I can't even, like, reach it to bite it. I can't do anything about this.
I'm coming. How much HP do you have?
Okay, hey, let me go. I'm going up.
Run.
The hell? Was half my HP, bro. That was a terrifying encounter. A creature that smacks a Deinosuchus around like it's a dodo is not one to be taken lightly. It became extremely obvious that in order to survive the ocean, we needed something better than our amphibious tames. We needed creatures that called the ocean their home, creatures that could deal with the likes of a giant squid. And I mean, since we were gonna have to raise any form of ocean-dwelling army anyway to go to the hard underwater cave, now was as good time as any to get that started. And according to Echo, one of the best sea monsters we could call our own would be a Mosasaurus. It's fast, it's tanky, and most importantly, easy to knock out because it cannot go above a certain depth. This specimen might only be level 80, but considering that this was merely supposed to get us started, it would be good enough, assuming that we could actually tame it. I have bad news. What? I forgot the kibble.
Where?
At base. In my RG.
Lift?
What's the second favorite food?
Oh my god, its torpidity's going down so fast.
Oh god, we might need to kibble. Yeah, this was as bad a time as any to be unprepared. Since Hinata was a lot faster than Onyx, Echo tried to rush back to our base before the Mosa woke up. I did try to use that time responsibly and get some loot drops on Kano Island, since this is where we located it anyway, but let's just say that there wasn't a lot I could do to keep the Mosa asleep. Echo arrived seconds before it woke up when we proceeded to stuff ungodly amounts of narcotics down its hatch, completing the tame, and its name is Percy. But now, a little demonstration for you guys on why Echo chose this to be our first ocean-dwelling tame. Because not only was it easy to knock out, even at such a low level, it was incredibly tanky, and as we later found out, it was even faster in the water than a Sarco, making it far and away our most useful tame to take to the ocean. We had a leader, time to get an army. Our creature of choice was the humble Megalodon, because they are pretty easy to knock out, benefit from the same pack bonus as direwolves, and their attacks cause a bleeding debuff on their prey. It was my job to breed, raise, and imprint our Megalodon army whilst Echo was out looking for a Liopleurodon, and gamers, juggling this plus working on the Therizino army made for a few incredibly stressful days. The only thing I had to look forward to was the upcoming organic polymer harvest. Anyway, since breeding was all I did, I also bred up a whole squad of brand new imprinted Sarcos in case we needed some disposable mounts. By the morning of day 83, the Megalodons were ready and we could head out to hunt some game. And what better way to test the army than against an alpha Mosasaur.
The bleed damage!
Where's this damage coming from?
Percentage bleed!
Wait, what? That was it?
Oh my god!
That was the Sea Giga and we just evaporated it?
Goodness gracious.
Bro, I think we're gonna be fine in the cave now.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Consider our confidence thoroughly lifted. Our Megalodon's bleed damage proved particularly useful against massive creatures that have large health pools, allowing us to get revenge on that Alpha Tuso and even get a journeyman fishing rod off of its body. At that point, we felt completely invincible, so much so that Echo and I decided to take a peek into the hard underwater cave without Birdie and Brandon. The only thing we were missing was a Basilosaurus. Listen, we were confident but not delusional. Percy being tanky was great, but what made Basilos special was that they were completely immune to the knockoff and stun effects of jellyfish, which is by far the biggest danger down in these caves. That and the incredibly high-level creatures ready to tear you to shreds, of course. Besides another Mosa that we knocked out, Echo was still in search of the legendary Liopleurodon after tasking me with getting my hands on the Basilo. These creatures are always surrounded by an entourage of mantas, which I had to take care of, but once I was done, it was smooth sailing. Or at least, so I thought.
I think I'll pass with him. This Basilo was not fighting back. It is a passive tame. Oh, what? I've been shooting it, bro. How do you tame it? You just walk up to it with the food and just give it to it. I knew I should have listened. It's kind of mad at me now. It's not like... It's gonna, I mean, it can be aggro and you can just tame it regardless. Okay, yeah, I'll just... What am I saying?
Well, look at me just casually running into what Echo has been searching for days. After messing up the Basilo tame, Echo did not trust me anywhere near this thing, so he came over ASAP whilst I tried my hands at my previous failure. Obviously, being the ocean expert, he managed to get it tamed, and we now get to take advantage of the Liopleurodon's unique buff, Mystic Skin Oil. When riding this creature, you get this applied to you for a whopping 6 hours, and it is meant to improve the quality of loot from all sources. And it lasts so long because the tame itself doesn't. Yep, the Liopleurodon is a temporary tame, so you best not be dying with that because you're probably not gonna get it back for a while. Obviously, we had to do a little testing. We went back to the lava cave near No Man's Landing to discover that, you know what? The loot has gotten pretty good. Just like with any other form of loot hunting, obviously not every box was a winner, but it definitely felt like the quality was substantially improved. And obviously, the same applied to regular beacons, where once again, we were greeted by a lot more Ascendant loot. We also gave fishing another shot, and I mean, even with our new higher quality fishing rods and the Mystic Skin Oil, the loot did not seem worth the effort. But there was one place that we knew consistently gave us really good drops. The underwater cave. Since we had a Megalodon army at the ready and we only had 15 days left to defeat the dragon and overseer, we decided to go in the hard underwater cave without Birdie and Brandon. Honestly, we felt like bringing 2 beginners down there would just make it more chaotic, and we didn't really have the time to wait for them either. But let's just say that they called this the difficult water cave for a reason.
I'm so incredibly on edge, you have no idea. Ooh, Alpha Meg. Alpha Meg in the cave? In the cave. Okay, this thing's about to get dangerous. Yep. This is about to get dangerous. Oh my god. Oh my god. Percy might die. I'm dying. How is there that much damage going around? What is happening? Oh, Percy just died by the Megalodon. There was not even Alpha, it was a regular one. Alpha's still alive. It's level 250. 250 Alpha?
This cave was absolutely no joke. It was stuffed to the brim with creatures higher than the tameable max level, and well, our tanks were suffering from bleed damage as much as our prey was. But all of that was necessary for us to get that fat loot, even though we still had no idea where the artifact was because frankly speaking, this place was massive. It was crazy how Onyx, who is a high-level Deinosuchus, felt like a king on land, but down here, I was scared of even getting anywhere near these creatures. After a little while, there was only one place left we hadn't explored. A deep hole with a long corridor housing some kind of alpha creature. I'm saying some kind of because it was actually stuck in the wall, so whilst it was still alpha boosting creatures around it, this was our lucky day in that we didn't need to fight it. But after ferrying all of our Megalodons into this corridor and slaughtering everything we could get our hands on...
That's the artifact! Oh my god, it wasn't the whole along, bro. Just do the honors. I mean, you've done all the work, bro. You should do it. Artifact of the cunning. Yeah, pretty cunning.
And this, my friends, is how we got the first of the 4 artifacts to fight the final Guardian. But this battle is going to have to wait till next time. If you can't wait to see a boss fight, what about you check out the last episode in which we defeated the Megapithecus? You can find the card on screen right now. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next week as we take on another challenge on our way to day 100. Peace.